What happens when one of Hollywood's most respected actors walks onto a daytime talk show stage, only to face an ambush that spirals completely out of control? It only took one inflammatory comment about his latest film project to turn a routine interview into the most shocking on-air meltdown in talk show history. Michael B. Jordan settled into the iconic View couch, his polished demeanor radiating the quiet confidence that had made him one of the most bankable stars in Hollywood. The studio audience erupted in applause as he waved, flashing that signature smile that had graced magazine covers worldwide. Sonny Hostin beamed at him from across the table, while Whoopi Goldberg offered a warm nod of welcome. Sarah Haynes looked thrilled to have him there, but Joy Behar sat with her arms crossed, a barely concealed smirk playing at the corners of her mouth. "Michael, welcome to The View," Whoopi began, her voice carrying that trademark warmth. "We're so excited to have you here today." "Thank you for having me," Michael replied, his voice smooth and gracious. "It's great to be here." Sunny leaned forward, her enthusiasm genuine. "Your new film is getting incredible buzz. Can you tell us about the role and what drew you to this project?" Michael's eyes lit up as he began describing his character, a civil rights attorney fighting systemic injustice in the modern legal system. This story matters because it shines a light on issues that are still affecting communities today. We worked with real attorneys, real families who've been through these experiences. It was important to me that we got it right, that we honored their stories. The audience applauded, clearly moved by his passion. Sarah nodded enthusiastically. "That level of commitment really shows in your work." "I appreciate that," Michael said. "You know, I think as artists, we have a responsibility to—" "Oh, here we go," Joy interrupted, her voice dripping with condescension. "Another actor thinking they're changing the world." The studio went silent. Michael blinked, caught off guard by the sudden shift in tone. Whoopi shifted uncomfortably in her seat. "I'm sorry?" Michael said, his tone still polite but confused. Joy leaned back in her chair, waving her hand dismissively. "Come on, you make action movies. You punch people on screen. Let's not pretend you're some kind of activist." Sonny's jaw dropped. "Joy, that's not—" "What?" Joy cut her off. "I'm just being honest. These Hollywood types always want to act like they're so important. Like making a movie is the same as actually doing something." Michael took a breath, clearly trying to maintain his composure. "With all due respect, I never claimed that making a movie solves everything, but storytelling has power. It can educate, it can inspire, it can make you millions of dollars," Joy interjected, that smirk growing wider. "Let's be real about what this is." "Joy," Whoopi said, her voice carrying a warning tone. "Let him finish." But Joy was just getting started. "I mean, look at you. Designer clothes, fancy watches. You're going to sit here and lecture us about injustice while you probably spent more on that suit than most people make in a month," the audience murmured uncomfortably. Sarah looked mortified. Michael's jaw tightened, but his voice remained steady. "I'm not lecturing anyone. You asked me about my film, and I'm telling you why it matters to me. The fact that I've been fortunate in my career doesn't negate the importance of these stories." "Convenient," Joy shot back. "Make your money, cash your checks, and call it activism. That's the Hollywood way, right?" Michael leaned forward slightly, his patience clearly wearing thin. "You don't know anything about what I do outside of making films. You don't know about the foundations I work with, the communities I invest in, the conversations I have behind closed doors. But even if I did nothing else, using my platform to amplify important stories is still valuable." "Your platform," Joy repeated mockingly. "You mean your Instagram followers? Please." Sonny tried to intervene again. "I think what Michael is saying is completely valid. Artists have always played a role in social commentary." "Oh, Sonny, don't encourage this nonsense," Joy snapped at her co-host. We're supposed to just sit here and fawn over another celebrity who thinks they're special? I never said I was special. Michael's voice rose slightly, the first crack in his composed exterior. I said the stories are important. There's a difference. Joy rolled her eyes dramatically. Right. And I'm sure you took a massive pay cut for this important story, didn't you? That's not the point, Michael countered. That's exactly the point. Joy's voice got louder. You want credit for being some kind of hero, while you're getting rich off of other people's pain. That's what this is. The audience was completely silent now, the tension in the studio palpable. Whoopi put her hand up. Okay, let's just take a breath here, and... No, I want to hear this, Michael interrupted, his eyes locked on Joy. Because what you're doing right now is exactly the problem. Instead of talking about the actual issues, the actual people this film represents, you're attacking me personally. You're making this about money and celebrity, when it should be about the message. The message, Joy laughed bitterly. You know what your message is? That you're better than everyone else. That you care more. That you deserve praise for doing the bare minimum. The bare minimum? Michael's voice carried genuine hurt now. Do you have any idea how many people told us not to make this film? How many studios passed because they said it was too political, too risky? We fought for 3 years to get this made. Boo-hoo, Joy mocked. Poor movie star had to fight to make his movie. Do you want a medal? Sarah finally spoke up, her voice shaking slightly. Joy, this is really inappropriate. Michael is our guest, and what? Joy turned on Sarah. We're supposed to just sit here and not ask real questions? Not challenge these people when they come on here with their publicity tours? Asking questions is one thing, Michael said, his voice now carrying an edge. What you're doing is attacking me for caring about something, for trying to do something meaningful with my work. Joy pointed at him accusingly. You want to do something meaningful? Give away your salary. Donate it all. Then come talk to me about how much you care. You don't get to decide how I contribute, Michael fired back. You don't get to gatekeep who cares about what or how they express it. I'm not gatekeeping anything, Joy said. I'm just calling out the hypocrisy. What hypocrisy? Michael's frustration was boiling over now. The hypocrisy of having a successful career and still caring about social issues? The hypocrisy of being financially comfortable and still wanting to make a difference? The hypocrisy of pretending you're one of the people you're making movies about, Joy shot back. You're not. You're a millionaire actor playing dress up. Whoopi raised her voice. Joy, that's enough. No, Whoopi, it's okay, Michael said, holding up his hand. His voice was controlled, but there was fire in his eyes. Let her finish. I want to hear where this goes. Joy leaned forward, matching his energy. Where it goes is this. You come on shows like this. You tell your touching stories about how important your work is. You get your standing ovations. And then you go back to your mansion and forget about all of it until the next press tour. That's the truth. You don't know me, Michael said quietly, but his voice carried more weight than if he'd shouted. You have no idea what I do, where I come from, what drives me. You've decided who I am based on absolutely nothing. I know exactly who you are, Joy insisted. You're every other actor who thinks they're special because they memorized some lines about social justice. Sunny jumped in, her voice firm. Joy, you're being incredibly disrespectful. Michael came here in good faith to talk about his work, and you're... I'm doing my job, Joy interrupted. My job is to push back, to ask hard questions. Hard questions? Michael almost laughed. You haven't asked me a single substantive question. You've just insulted me repeatedly. If you feel insulted, maybe that says something about you, Joy retorted. No. Michael stood up, his movements deliberate and controlled. It says something about you. The audience gasped. Whoopi's eyes went wide. Michael. I came here today excited to talk about a project I poured my heart into. Michael continued, his voice steady, but filled with barely contained emotion. A project that means something to me, that means something to the people whose stories we're telling. And instead of having a conversation about that, I've spent the last several minutes being personally attacked by someone who doesn't know the first thing about me. Joy stood up too, her face flushed. Oh, so now you're the victim? Is that what this is? I'm not claiming to be a victim, Michael said. I'm simply stating facts. You've been hostile from the moment I sat down. You've mocked my work, questioned my intentions, and made assumptions about my character. Because I see through the act, Joy said, her voice rising. I see through the carefully crafted public image and the rehearsed talking points. There's no act, Michael's voice finally broke through his controlled demeanor. This is who I am. I care about this work. I care about these stories. And the fact that you can't accept that says everything about your cynicism, not my authenticity. The studio was electric with tension. Sarah had tears in her eyes. Sunny sat frozen, unsure what to do. Whoopi looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. Joy's face contorted with anger. Don't you dare talk to me about cynicism. I've been doing this for decades. I've seen 1,000 actors like you come through here, all thinking they're going to change the world with their little movies. Then maybe you've been doing it too long, Michael said, his voice cutting through the space between them like a knife. Maybe you've become so jaded that you can't recognize genuine passion when it's right in front of you. Genuine passion, Joy scoffed. Is that what we're calling it? What would you call it? Michael challenged. What do you think drives someone to spend years fighting to tell a story that studios don't want to touch? What do you think motivates someone to work with real families, to honor real experiences, to try to get it right? Ego, Joy said without hesitation. Your ego. Your need to be seen as more than just a pretty face on a movie screen. Michael's hands clenched into fists at his sides. You know what? I don't have to stand here and take this. Then don't, Joy said, crossing her arms. Leave. Run away. That's what people do when they can't handle the truth. The truth? Michael's voice was incredulous. You haven't spoken a word of truth since I sat down. All you've done is project your own issues onto me. My issues? Joy's voice hit a new pitch. I don't have issues. I have perspective. I have experience. You have a problem, Michael interrupted. A problem with anyone who has success and still wants to do something meaningful. Like you can't comprehend that both things can exist at the same time. Whoopi tried again. Guys, please, let's just... Stay out of this, Whoopi, Joy snapped. Don't talk to her like that, Michael said immediately. She's trying to keep this from completely falling apart, which is more than you're doing. Oh, now you're defending everyone? Joy's laugh was harsh. Saint Michael, protecting us all. I'm defending basic decency, Michael said. Something you clearly forgot about today. Joy took a step closer to where Michael was standing. You come into my house. Your house? Michael cut her off. This isn't your house. This is a talk show with multiple hosts who are all sitting here watching you attack a guest for no reason. Sarah finally found her voice again. Michael's right, Joy. This has gone way too far. Oh, now you're turning on me too? Joy whirled on Sarah. All of you are just going to side with the celebrity? We're not siding with anyone, Sunny said, her voice shaking. We're trying to have a civil conversation, and you're making it impossible. Joy's face was red now. I'm making it impossible? He's the one who stood up. He's the one who's being disrespectful. I stood up because I'm leaving, Michael said, his voice finally calm again, which somehow made it more powerful. I'm not going to sit here and be your punching bag. I'm not going to let you project whatever anger you're carrying onto me. How dare you? Joy breathed. How dare I what? Michael countered. Stand up for myself? Refuse to be disrespected? Have boundaries? You think you're so much better than everyone, Joy spat. I never said that. Michael's voice was tired now. Not once. All I did was try to talk about my work with passion, and you turned it into this. Whoopi finally stood up. Michael, please, don't leave. Joy, apologize. Apologize? Joy looked at Whoopi like she'd grown a second head. For what? For everything you've said in the last 10 minutes, Sunny exclaimed. I won't apologize for speaking my mind, Joy said defiantly. Michael shook his head slowly. Then we have nothing else to talk about. He turned toward the edge of the stage. The audience sat in shocked silence, some with their hands over their mouths. This wasn't how these interviews were supposed to go. This wasn't what anyone had expected. That's right. Run away, Joy called after him. Show everyone who you really are. Michael stopped, turning back one last time. Who I really am is someone who respects myself enough not to stay where I'm not respected. I hope you find whatever it is you're looking for, Joy, because whatever anger you're carrying, it's eating you alive. Don't you psychoanalyze me, Joy shouted. I'm not, Michael said. I'm just making an observation, the same way you've been making observations about me all morning. Except mine is actually based on what just happened, not some preconceived notion you walked in here with. Joy opened her mouth to respond, but Michael held up his hand. I'm done, he said simply. I came here to talk about a film that matters. To talk about stories that need to be told. To talk about people whose voices deserve to be heard. Instead, I got ambushed by someone who seems to have a personal problem with successful people trying to do good work. It's not personal, Joy insisted, but her voice wavered slightly. It felt pretty personal, Michael said. It felt like you decided, before I even walked out here, that you were going to tear me down. And I don't know if it's because you're having a bad day, or because you genuinely can't stand to see someone in my position caring about something, or what. But it's not okay. Sarah wiped at her eyes. Michael, we're so sorry. Don't apologize for her, Michael said gently. That's not your responsibility. He looked at Joy one more time. I hope whatever you think you accomplished here today was worth it. Because all you did was show a lot of people watching that cynicism and bitterness win out over actual conversation. Get off my stage, Joy said, her voice low and dangerous. I'm going, Michael said. He looked at Whoopi, Sunny, and Sarah. Thank you for trying. I appreciate the effort. As he moved toward the exit, Joy couldn't help herself. You'll be back. They all come back. You need us more than we need you. Michael paused at the edge of the stage, the studio lights catching his profile. No, he said quietly, but the microphone picked it up perfectly. I really don't. The audience erupted. Some were cheering, some were gasping, some were calling out to Joy. Whoopi had her head in her hands. Sunny looked like she wanted to disappear. Sarah was crying openly now. Shut up! Joy yelled at the audience. All of you, just shut up. But they didn't shut up. The noise level rose as Michael walked off the stage, his head held high, his dignity intact. Production assistants scrambled, unsure if they should cut to commercial or keep rolling. The camera operators looked at each other in confusion. Joy stood there, breathing heavily, looking around at her co-hosts. What? What are you all looking at me for? Joy, Whoopi said slowly. That was completely out of line. Out of line? Joy's voice was defensive now. I was doing what we do here. I was challenging him. You were attacking him, Sunny said firmly. There's a difference, and you know it. He couldn't handle tough questions, Joy insisted, but there was less conviction in her voice now. You didn't ask tough questions, Sarah said, wiping her eyes. You insulted him, repeatedly, for no reason. There was a reason, Joy said, but she couldn't seem to articulate what it was. Whoopi shook her head. We need to go to commercial. Now. "We're still rolling," one of the producers called out. "Then stop rolling," Whoopi commanded. But it was too late. The damage was done. The moment was captured. The audience had seen everything. And as the cameras finally cut away, Joy Behar stood alone at the table, isolated from her co-hosts, while the audience continued to buzz with shocked conversation. In the wings of the stage, Michael B. Jordan removed his microphone pack and handed it to a stunned production assistant. His publicist rushed up to him, phone already in hand, undoubtedly fielding calls. But Michael just took a deep breath, straightened his jacket, and walked toward the exit with the same quiet dignity he'd walked in with. The interview that was supposed to be a friendly promotional appearance had turned into something else entirely. A line had been crossed, respect had been shattered, and in the span of just a few intense minutes, a routine talk show segment had become a moment that would be discussed, analyzed, and debated. Back on the stage, Joy finally sat down, her co-hosts still staring at her with expressions ranging from disappointment to disbelief. The audience had quieted somewhat, but the energy in the room was completely different now. What had started as excited anticipation had curdled into uncomfortable tension. "I was just doing my job," Joy said to no one in particular, her voice lacking its earlier fire. But nobody responded, because everyone in that studio knew the truth. This hadn't been about journalism, or tough questions, or holding anyone accountable. This had been something else, something ugly, something that revealed more about the person asking the questions than the person trying to answer them. As the crew scrambled to reset for whatever was coming next, one thing was crystal clear. What was supposed to be a platform for conversation had become a battlefield, and the person who had come in peace, who had wanted to share something meaningful, had been forced to walk away. Not because he couldn't handle scrutiny, not because he couldn't defend his work, but because there's a point where dignity demands that you remove yourself from a situation that has become irredeemably toxic. Michael B. Jordan had reached that point, and he had made his choice to walk away with his head held high, his integrity intact, and his self-respect uncompromised. While behind him, on that iconic stage, the person who had driven him away sat in the wreckage of her own making, surrounded by colleagues who had watched her cross every line of professional and personal decency. The story of what happened on The View that day would spread quickly. The clips would circulate. The think pieces would be written. The debates would rage. But in that moment, in that studio, there was only the heavy silence of an opportunity wasted and a bridge burned. All because one person couldn't separate their own bitterness from their professional responsibility. All because cynicism had been allowed to trump compassion. All because an attack had been disguised as accountability. And Michael B. Jordan, who had walked onto that stage hoping to talk about art and justice and stories that matter, had been forced to defend his basic humanity instead. The interview that never really happened. The conversation that was hijacked before it could begin. The moment when everything went wrong because one person decided that tearing someone down was more important than building anything.